On today's Smart 7, nurses agree pay deal, the Godfather of AI has a warning, and lots more. It's Wednesday the 3rd of May, it's World Press Freedom Day, and happy birthday Sandy Toxvig.
The Smart 7. It's news, but not the news.
There's hope on the horizon for an end to NHS strikes after a pay deal was signed off at a meeting between the government and health unions. It means more than 1 million staff, including ambulance workers, nurses, physios and porters in England, will receive a 5% pay rise and a one-off sum of at least £1,655. Ministers are hoping it'll bring the strikes to an end, though 3 unions are threatening to continue action. Health Secretary Steve Barclay was sounding positive.
Well, this is a good day for NHS staff, but it's also a good day for patients. When we can now move forward, focus together on the patients and also ensure that staff get the pay rise much sooner than would have been the case under the pay review body process.
But there could still be trouble ahead, as Head of Health at Unison, Sarah Gorson, explains.
So it certainly means that the majority of unions have resolved their disputes. Certainly my own union, Unison. It's important to note it was a majority decision, not a unanimous decision.
This comes as teachers in England who are members of the National Education Union undertook another strike over pay and working conditions. Dr Mary Boosted from the NEU says they haven't accepted offers just yet because they're not suitable.
We're asking for an inflation-proof pay rise, but we're willing to negotiate on that. What we are not prepared to accept, the offer that the government has made. It simply won't address the problems we're facing.
The government's paused a Cabinet Office inquiry into Sue Gray's departure from Whitehall, which was expected to have concluded that she'd broken the Civil Service Code. It's now not expected to be published until after the Civil Service watchdog decides whether to delay the start of her job as Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff. She's been accused of a conflict of interest amid claims she was in job talks with Labour while still conducting the Partygate probe into Boris Johnson. Sir Keir Starmer says he's confident Sue Gray didn't break the rules, but Foreign Secretary James Cleverly says Labour has serious questions to answer.
If that is what the report says, I do think Keir Starmer has got some serious questions to answer.
And it wasn't a great day for Labour overall, as Starmer also admitted he's gone back on his promise to scrap university tuition fees.
I think we are going to set out a fairer solution.
It won't be the abandoning of tuition fees, will it?
Well, we are likely to move on from that commitment
Right.
because we do find ourselves in a different financial situation.
Ukraine's vowed not to give up on defending the eastern city of Bakhmut as it prepares for a counter-offensive against Russian forces. The battle for Bakhmut has symbolic importance for both sides, with Ukraine still holding on to some parts of the city after months of fierce fighting. Now they're hoping for a breakthrough offensive, according to Ukrainian ambassador to the UK, Vadim Prystaiko.
This is getting a bit too long, and Ukraine is also suffering. The 8 million of us outside of the nation. So you can imagine that most families were living separated in more than a year.
It comes as Russia has scrapped some May Victory Day parades amid fears over Ukrainian strikes, which could signify the direction the war's moving in. Meanwhile, former UK Foreign Secretary William Hague reflected on what he would have done differently when he was in office.
Well, I think you can always learn from hindsight when there's been a catastrophic war. Would we do things differently now? Definitely, we would do things differently. Western policy at that time was to try to get Putin down the path of a reasonable peace rather than a permanent war.
The Godfather of AI has quit Google amid fears that scary tech could soon be smarter than us. 75-year-old Geoffrey Hinton's been credited with creating the neural net technology that's become the bedrock of artificial intelligence systems like ChatGPT and Google Bard. But now he's resigned from Google and warned the technology could upend life as we know it.
It's one of those things where there's no way that people weren't going to explore it. The issue is, now that we've discovered it works better than we expected a few years ago, what do we do to mitigate the long-term risks of things more intelligent than us taking control?
Still to come on the Smart 7, Arsenal climb back on top and Hollywood runs out of words. Right after this. Welcome back.
Tuesday night saw Arsenal take on Chelsea in what was a must-win game for the Gunners. Frank Lampard's not won a single game since he returned to Chelsea, and Tuesday night was no different. Arsenal raced into a 3-0 lead with a late consolation for Chelsea, leaving the final score 3-1. That makes it 9 games without a win for Chelsea and saw Arsenal back on top of the league, for the moment at least. Manager Mikel Arteta certainly enjoyed the win.
We were us. That's what I demanded before the match. I want to see that energy, that determination, that fluidity, that movement, that purpose in our play. And that was there from the beginning.
As you've just heard, strikes are nothing new in the UK at the moment. Nurses, doctors, border guards and the rest. Meanwhile, in Hollywood, it's the writers who've just walked out. 11,000 TV and movie writers have hit the picket lines, protesting about diminished earnings because of shorter series and more streaming services. Host of The Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon, says he's 100% behind his team.
I wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for my writers, and I support them all the way. They got to have a fair contract, and they got a lot of stuff to iron out, and hopefully they get it done.
And while working the red carpet at the Met Gala, former Mean Girl Amanda Seyfried had some pretty concise support too.
I don't get what the problem is. Like, everything changed with streaming and everybody needs to be compensated for their work. That's easy. I don't get it.
It's every gamer's secret dream. You've got so good at the thing, you're sure you could do it all in real life. Well, that dream's come true for young Jan Mardenborough, who became such an expert at racing online that he took to the track, becoming a professional driver. You can see how he did it in new action-packed movie Gran Turismo, which hits cinemas in August.
This whole thing is insane, but out of the couch surfing nerds that you sent me, he is the best one.
Welcome to Team This End.
What's next? Major leagues. The other drivers are going to hate you.
Come on! If you miss a line in the game, you reset. You miss it on the track, you could die.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.